Hey guys, welcome back to Mindtales Sleep Stories. I'm glad you're here. Really. Tonight's story is a little different. It's not just about falling asleep. It's about finding peace in the quiet corners of your own mind. About wandering into a place that feels both strange and familiar. A place that only opens when the world outside has gone still. If you're new here, hi. I'm glad you found us. We share slow, thoughtful stories made for grown-ups who sometimes forget how to rest. Stories that mix psychology, emotion, and imagination. If you enjoy that sort of thing, you can like this video, maybe subscribe, or even leave a comment. But only if you really feel like it. No pressure at all. This is your space to relax. So, go ahead. Dim the lights. Let your shoulders drop. Let your breath soften as if the air itself is saying, you can rest now. Tonight's story is called The Night Library. It's about a woman who stumbles upon a library that only opens after dark. A library where every book holds one of her memories. Some joyful, some painful, all waiting to be read again. And as she wanders through those endless shelves, she begins to understand that remembering is its own kind of healing. So, let's begin. Close your eyes if you'd like, and imagine the world growing quieter, until all that's left is the sound of turning pages. You are walking down a narrow street. The air feels cool and gentle, the kind that smells faintly of rain on stone. It's late, too late for the shops to be open, but the streetlights glow like halos above puddles. At the end of the street stands a building you've never noticed before. It's old, with arched windows and ivy curling around its walls. A sign hangs crookedly above the door. The letters, faded and gold, read, Public Library, open at dusk. You frown. That can't be right. But when you blink, the sign shifts subtly, as if reality itself is adjusting to your confusion. Now it says, Open at night. The door is made of dark oak, carved with strange symbols. Half stars, half words that don't quite make sense. You reach for the handle. It's warm. Not the metallic kind of warm that comes from sunlight, but the quiet warmth of something alive. When you pull, the door opens soundlessly, and the smell that greets you is the scent of memory itself. Dust, paper, and something sweet, like vanilla and rain. You step inside. The world hushes. The air here is thick, but not heavy. It feels thoughtful, like the building is holding its breath, waiting for you to notice it. Soft, golden lamps hover in midair. No wires, no switches, just glowing orbs that pulse faintly, as if breathing. Rows upon rows of books stretch in every direction, higher than seems possible. You walk slowly, fingertips brushing against spines that whisper beneath your touch. Every book hums with quiet energy, the way a seashell hums with the sound of the sea. Then you notice something strange. Each spine bears your name. You step closer. Some books are thick, others slim. Some gleam as though newly written. Others are frayed and tired, like they've been read 1,000 times. You pull one down. The cover is dark blue, embossed with silver stars. The title reads, The Summer of Forgotten Things. The letters shimmer softly, like distant lightning. You open it, and the world dissolves. Sunlight, warm, golden, and impossibly bright. You're standing in a wide meadow filled with tall grass. The sky is the color of sleep just before it turns into dreams. A radio hums faintly nearby, playing a song you haven't heard in decades. A melody that once meant something. You turn toward the sound, and see a small picnic blanket spread out on the grass. 2 cups of lemonade, half melted ice. Someone's laughter rings through the air. And then you see her. You, from years ago, smiling in a way you've almost forgotten how. It's strange, watching yourself from the outside. She doesn't notice you, of course. She's busy making a tower of sandwich crusts, a crown of dandelions in her hair. You remember this day now. It was the day you said, "I don't ever want to grow up." You laugh quietly. You did grow up, of course. You had to. But there's something beautiful in remembering the person you once were. The sunlight flickers like the fluttering of pages. The air smells of wildflowers and sunscreen. And then, softly, the world begins to fade. You blink, and you're back in the library. The book closes itself with a whisper. You hold it for a moment, feeling its quiet heartbeat against your palm. You whisper, "Thank you," though you don't know who you're thanking. You slide it back into place. The shelves stretch endlessly around you, glowing faintly in shades of amber and gold. Each row hums with a different tone, like 1,000 pianos playing one long, gentle note. You wander deeper. The categories change as you walk past. The signs read, "Dreams you almost remember," "Moments you thought didn't matter," "People who still think of you." You pause before another shelf. The books here are completely blank. The sign above them reads, "Unwritten Chapters." You reach out and pull one down. It's light as air. When you open it, there are no words, just faint moving images, like clouds forming shapes in the distance. At first, they're blurry. Then they sharpen. It's you, years from now. Older, calmer, maybe even happier. You're making tea. You're humming. You look content. And then the clouds shift again, and words appear across the blank page. Every chapter begins with rest. You smile faintly. Somewhere, a clock chimes once. Midnight. You look up, startled. The sound of the chime rolls through the library like a slow wave. As the echo fades, you notice movement at the far end of the hall. A figure, tall, serene, steps out from between the shelves. She's wearing a long grey robe and spectacles that glint faintly in the light. Her hair shimmers like moonlight on water. "Back again?" she asks softly. Her voice sounds like turning pages. You blink. "I've been here before?" She smiles in a way that feels ancient and kind. "Oh yes, everyone comes here. Some just forget between visits." You glance around, realizing suddenly that you can hear faint breathing. Not yours, but others. Dozens, maybe hundreds of sleepers, somewhere in the world, dreaming themselves into the same library tonight. The librarian tilts her head. "You've only just arrived. Would you like to keep reading?" You nod. And as she gestures for you to follow, you feel the floor shift beneath your feet, from wood to marble, to something softer, something that feels like mist. The night library breathes around you, and deeper still, 1,000 unwritten stories wait for you to turn the page. You follow the librarian into a corridor where the shelves lean toward one another, like old friends sharing secrets. The floor softens beneath your steps, from wood to stone, to a pale, misty pathway that gives a little, the way a cloud might if it decided to be practical for once. Lamps float along the ceiling, changing color depending on where you look. Warm amber for joy, cool blue for sorrow, soft green for the things you haven't named yet. The librarian walks with an unhurried certainty. You notice her robe is stitched with tiny letters, as if paragraphs have unraveled and decided to become fabric. Some rooms she says. I prefer to be found rather than searched for. She pauses at a door that wasn't there a heartbeat ago, an arch of dark wood engraved with constellations that don't exist in any sky you've ever seen. At eye level, curled in silver script, are the words, "Do not open without love." Your throat tightens. The door doesn't feel threatening, only honest, like a friend who tells you the truth gently, even when it stings. The librarian tilts her head. "You don't have to go in tonight," she says, "but if you do, bring kindness. It's the only light that works in there." You take a breath that feels like a small surrender. You think about the nights you scrolled too fast and slept too little, about all the times you changed the subject when your own heart asked questions. You reach for the handle. It's cool as river water and just as clear. "I'll be careful," you say. She nods. "Be kind," she corrects, smiling as if the two are cousins who always get mistaken for one another. The door yields without a sound, and a hush spills out, blue and soft. The air smells like rain and a box of old photographs you once promised to organize. You step through, and the world shifts, like an app changing from light mode to dark mode, soothing the eyes and asking less of them. Inside, the shelves are lower, closer, almost intimate. Each book is wrapped in ribbon, sealed with a small dot of wax, stamped with a heart, a feather, a tear. It's quiet, but not empty. Somewhere, very faintly, a lullaby tries to remember its melody. You glance back once. The librarian waits in the doorway, more door than person for a breath, then a person again. "Call if you need me," she says. "I'm always exactly as far as your next breath." You nod, and the door sighs shut, leaving you with your own good company. You run your fingers along the nearest shelf. The books hum like sleeping cats, each one a small, contained warmth. You choose a thin volume tied with gray ribbon. The seal is a tiny wax teardrop. When you look closer, you see it's also a seed. You smile at the metaphor before you can help it. Sometimes the heart gets poetic when it's telling the truth. You untie the ribbon. The seal softens, not broken, but welcomed open. The first page carries no words, only a breath. When you turn it, the library dissolves, and you're standing in a small bedroom you haven't seen in years. The light is dim and yellow. The curtains are the color of watered tea. On the bed sits a younger you, shoulders hunched, hands clasped around a phone that won't answer back. The air in the room has that specific ache, like the quiet after you realize the conversation is over, and the future you planned has gone somewhere you can't follow. The younger you is crying without sound, the most honest kind. You feel the impulse to fix, to advise, to make a list. Instead, you sit beside them. The bed creaks like a tired apology. You don't offer cliches. You don't promise it will be better by morning. You let the silence be soft enough to lie down in. After a while, the younger you leans into your shoulder, and you feel the exquisitely human weight of yourself, the proof that hurt and hope have never been enemies, only roommates with different schedules. You whisper, "You are always going to survive this." Not because you're brave all the time, but because your heart is stubborn about finding light. It sounds corny and perfect, like sending yourself a text at 2 a.m. that simply says, "Still here." The room brightens the way memories do when you finally hold them with both hands. The phone in their palm stops being a verdict and becomes only an object again. Just pixels, just glass. You notice a small plant on the windowsill you forgot you ever owned. It's reaching for a light it can't see, and somehow it's thriving. When you stand, the younger you looks up, eyes red but steadier. "Does it ever stop hurting?" they ask. You consider the honest answer, and then you give it. It changes shape, and one day you won't measure your life from this moment outward. A soft wind moves the curtains. The scene thins, becomes transparent. The pages turn themselves, gentler now, as if the book approves of your tenderness. And then you're back in the blue-lit room with the book cooling in your hands, the ribbon slack like a ribbon after a gift has been opened. You retie it, not to hide it, but to bless it. The hum around you deepens, approving. You wander to a different aisle where the shelves lean inward, as if sharing a secret over tea. Here the books are heavier. Their ribbons are darker, indigo shading toward midnight. You lift one that feels exactly like a conversation you've avoided for years. The seal is stamped with 2 overlapping circles, a Venn diagram of then and now. When you open it, you're in a kitchen, not the one you have now, an earlier version with colder tiles and impatient light. A kettle is forgetting to boil. 2 mugs sit too far apart, as if they've had a disagreement. Across the table sits someone you once loved, or tried to. Their face is soft with familiarity and edged with fatigue. You can't hear all the words that were spoken that night, but you remember the choreography. Voices circling the truth like wary birds, looking for a place to land. You said things to be right. They said things to be safe. Between you, a silence collected like dew and pretended to be nothing. You watched the scene unfurl with a kind of compassion you didn't have then, because you were busy being a person in real time. You want to call out instructions to your past self. Pause. Ask how they slept. Notice the fear beneath that sentence. Answer the question no one asked out loud. But you don't change the memory. You witness it the way a good librarian handles a fragile page. Gloved, respectful, aware that the past is a record, not a draft. Something shifts. Your past self looks down, then up, then down again. They could have chosen many roads. They chose the one they could manage with the tools they had. You set your palm on the table. Just the idea of your palm. A warm presence that doesn't disturb the scene. And in that gentle pressure, there's a message. Thank you for trying with what you knew. The light in the kitchen softens. The kettle finally remembers its purpose and begins to sing, quiet as a secret that doesn't need to be kept. Your past self breathes a little deeper. The other person's shoulders drop a fraction. In a different universe, perhaps you both apologized. In this one, you simply soften, and sometimes that is a miracle big enough. When the page turns, it does so with a sound like a small forgiveness. You close the book carefully, surprised at how much lighter your hands feel when they're not holding blame. The ribbon ties itself, like gratitude returning to its shelf. In the next aisle, a sign reads, "What ifs and other weather." You exhale a laugh that you didn't mean to let out. The air here feels like a rainy Tuesday that smells like coffee and closure. The first book you touch is cool, almost metallic. Its seal stamped with a tiny compass that points in every direction at once. When the page opens, a city blinks awake around you. Crosswalks ticking, distant sirens threading through dark. The glow of phones held like fireflies in human hands. You see a younger version of yourself declining an opportunity. Too scared, too tired, convinced that if you didn't jump now, you'd never fly. The scene carries that familiar ache, the bruise of regret you press just to check if it still hurts. But before the ache takes over, something new appears. A margin note, handwritten in your future voice. If you had said yes then, you might have missed the version of yourself who learned patience here. The words ripple the scene. Another note appears. And look, see how you grew roots instead of wings that year. Both are forms of travel. You smile in spite of yourself. The room smells faintly of wet pavement and cinnamon, the scent of evenings that made you human. You watch as the younger you chooses rest over risk, and for once you do not call it cowardice. You call it timing. You call it healing. You call it what it was, the best you could do without breaking. The city darkens to a blue that excuses every imperfection. A shop door closes 3 blocks away, with a sound like an answered question. Somewhere, someone laughs alone at a text and doesn't feel lonely about it. The page turns, and you're struck by how gentle the turning is, like the book understands that regret is heavy and has decided to do the lifting with you. Back in the aisle, the sign winks, as much as a sign can wink, and becomes forecast clearing. You press your palm to the book's cover in thanks, and for a heartbeat it presses back. You realize then that you're tired in a good way. The kind of tired you feel after a meaningful talk with a friend who didn't rush you. Your shoulders have descended from their usual perch, somewhere near your ears. Your breath has found a longer road. You look toward the door, wondering if the librarian is still there. As if summoned by your thought, the latch glows, and the door opens with the modest flourish of a curtain between acts. The librarian waits, hands folded, eyes kind. "How was the weather?" she asks, as if you'd just walked in from rain. You shrug and smile. "Easier to breathe," you say. She approves with a nod that feels like a blanket. "Come," she says, guiding you down a short hallway into a small circular room, lined with velvet benches and books that hum at a frequency you can feel in your bones. This is the binding room. It's where the pages you've just read learn to live together without arguing. You sit. The cushion gives like a sigh. At the center of the room is a low table with a spool of silver thread, a bowl of clear water, and a pair of scissors that look like they only cut what's ready to be released. The librarian gestures toward your chest. "Set them down," she whispers. You close your eyes and gently place the memories you visited into the bowl, not to drown them, but to let them float. They bob like paper boats. The silver thread warms, unspooling in the air, weaving a soft connection between each scene. The bedroom with the quiet crying, the kitchen with the unboiled kettle, the city where the version of you who stayed learned something, the version who leapt might have missed. The thread doesn't bind tightly, it simply acknowledges, like a caption that finally matches the picture. "People think healing is erasing," the librarian says, "but the heart is an archivist, not a judge. It catalogues, it cross-references, it learns what to display and what to keep in climate-controlled quiet." You breathe with the room. The hum becomes the rhythm of a calm night train, steady and reassuring, carrying you somewhere you don't need to name. The bowl's water shines, the paper boats do not sink. When the thread is done, the librarian pinches it gently. The end seals itself with a glow no brighter than a thought that decides to be kind. She lifts the boats with 2 careful fingers and settles them in a shallow drawer labeled Integrated. The drawer closes with the sound of a page being saved. "They'll live easier now," she says, "and so will you." You realize you've been breathing in counts of 4 without meaning to. 4 in, 4 out, like a slow tide that keeps its promises. The room grows warmer by 1 degree, the exact amount it takes for shoulders to surrender. When you stand, the librarian offers her arm the way a good host does at the end of a long evening. "There's more to see," she says, "but the library is never in a hurry. We're night creatures here. We trust the moon to finish what the sun began." You return to the wider hall, where the shelves once again climb like trees in a patient forest. Somewhere, a clock forgets itself and decides not to chime. The air carries the comfortable hush of a living room after everyone has gone home, when the chairs relax and the books simmer with leftover conversation. A sign ahead catches your eye. The cartographer's nook. The letters are stitched in thread that changes color as you move. Rose, then gold, then the quiet gray of morning. The librarian inclines her head. Maps, she explains, but not of places, of patterns. The routes you keep taking. The paths you haven't noticed yet. Very useful for travelers who have been calling themselves stuck. You feel the gentlest spark of curiosity, the good kind. The kind that doesn't demand, only invites. Your footsteps sound like pages turning at a late hour, when the world is too tired to be sharp. At the nook's entrance, a curved desk waits with a blank map the size of an open window. Lines sketch themselves in ink that appears the way stars do. First one, then another, then many. You recognize loops you've walked a dozen times, caretaking without asking, saying yes as a reflex, calling yourself lazy when you are actually empty. You also see bright new routes, thin as promise, saying, "Let me think," accepting help like it's not a debt, but a doorway, resting before you're shattered. The map labels nothing with shame. It simply tells the truth in a beautiful font and leaves room for annotations. In the corner is a tiny legend that reads, "Here, be gentle things." You laugh under your breath. Of course there are. The librarian produces a pen that writes only when you breathe out. Add a road you'd like to try, she suggests. You do. It's small, unassuming. Go to bed when tired, not when finished. The ink settles like a vow that doesn't need a ceremony to be real. The map rolls itself and slides into a tube labeled with your name and tonight's date. You notice there are many tubes there, from nights you've forgotten and nights you've yet to have. You can check this out, the librarian offers, but you won't need to. It will remember you. You nod, feeling the kind of calm that doesn't ask for proof. The lamps dim to a tender twilight. Somewhere, far off, a door opens for someone else. Somewhere nearer, a chair decides to creak, just for the pleasure of being useful. You look toward the deeper stacks, where a soft glow hints at yet another wing. Something to do with letters you wrote, but never sent, perhaps. Or a table where the names of people you've loved are sorted like gemstones by how they taught you to stay. "Shall we?" the librarian asks, as if proposing a slow dance. You take one last easy breath and feel your whole life exhale with you. "Yes," you say. And together, you step toward the next chapter the night has saved for you. You and the librarian walk slowly, as if the air itself has decided to move only at the pace of kindness. The shelves curve inward, becoming less like furniture and more like forest. Books hang like fruit, round, soft-bound volumes that glow when you breathe near them. The air hums in a low, familiar way, like the sound of distant conversation in a cafe you've visited before, but can't quite place. The librarian gestures toward a reading table carved from pale stone. "Every reader finds a favorite corner," she says. "This one is for those who like to reread what they've already forgiven, but haven't yet believed." You sit. The chair adjusts subtly, welcoming the shape of your rest. Before you lies a book already open to a blank page. At the top, in looping handwriting, is a single question. What would you say if you could send one message without needing an answer? The question settles in your chest like warm tea. You think of all the unsent words that live rent-free in your mind. Apologies left draft only, thank yous delayed past their window, gentle truths you swallowed because the moment wasn't right. You pick up the pen lying nearby. Its ink shimmers like evening light through curtains. At first, you hesitate. The silence is patient. Then you begin. I'm sorry I didn't know how to love you without needing to fix you. The words land softly, making a sound only the heart can hear. You keep writing. Thank you for teaching me that love isn't measured by how long something lasts, but by how deeply it's remembered. The sentences drift across the page like paper boats on still water. When you're done, you sign your name. Not for ownership, but for closure. The ink fades slowly until it becomes light itself, floating upward, out of sight. The librarian watches with the approving nod of someone who has seen many letters find their way without postage. They always arrive, she says. Not always to the person you meant, but always to the part of you that needed to hear it. You smile. So nothing gets lost. Only the things ready to be found, she replies. You close the notebook. The air smells faintly of ink, rain, and possibility. The librarian leads you onward, the soles of your feet brushing softly against the misted floor. You come to a new section, tucked behind a small archway, made of what looks like time itself. Thin layers of translucent memory stacked like mica. A bronze plaque reads, "The Department of Enough." You can't help but laugh. That sounds like a department I could use a membership to. The librarian chuckles quietly, a sound like turning pages. You already have one. Everyone does. Most people just forget to visit. Inside, the room is filled with small mirrors. Round, oval, heart-shaped, all slightly fogged, as if they've just sighed. On a central pedestal sits a single open ledger. The ink glows faintly blue. The first page is titled, "The Inventory of Effort." You glance down and see entries appear as you read. All the times you tried again after failing. Every time you forgave someone before they said sorry. The days you got out of bed when no one would have blamed you for staying there. Each line fades after a moment, replaced by a new one, like the room is reminding you gently. You've done enough, again and again, even when you didn't notice. You feel something warm bloom behind your ribs, like gratitude remembering its job description. The librarian leans on her cane, though you're not sure she had one before. The trick, she says, is to remember that rest isn't quitting. It's archiving progress. You look into one of the mirrors. At first, you see your reflection as you know it. Tired eyes, familiar lines, the gentle chaos of being human. Then, slowly, it shifts. You see every version of yourself layered like translucent pages. The child who daydreamed, the adult who doubted, the quiet survivor who just kept showing up. Together, they form a single, tender face. Yours. You whisper almost shyly, "I am enough." The reflection nods back, perfectly synchronized. The words don't echo. They settle like dust finding peace. As you leave the Department of Enough, the librarian offers you a peppermint-colored bookmark shaped like a feather. "For when you forget," she says. It hums faintly in your hand, the way reassurance does. You walk deeper into the library. The air grows cooler, more spacious. The ceiling disappears into starlight, and the shelves spread wider, as if giving your thoughts more room to breathe. Ahead, you see a door made entirely of glass. Behind it, faint shapes move like constellations made of paper. A sign above the doorway reads, "The Sky Room." The librarian gestures. "This one's special. Every book here is still being written, moment by moment, thought by thought. It's where your mind comes to tidy itself before sleep. You step inside. The floor is made of mirrored glass, reflecting an endless sky of soft, glowing words drifting like clouds. They rearrange themselves into sentences whenever you look directly at them. You catch glimpses of phrases. You did your best. It's okay to slow down. Tomorrow doesn't need you yet. You lie down on the floor, watching the words drift overhead. It feels like lying beneath a sky that speaks your language. Your heartbeat syncs with the rhythm of the glowing phrases, each pulse slower than the last. Somewhere above, a soft melody begins to play, a mix of wind and piano, and the sound of someone turning a page at just the right moment. It's not a song you recognize, but it feels like one you might have dreamed once. The librarian sits nearby, knitting something from threads of light. "What are you making?" you ask, voice barely above a whisper. "Blankets," she says, "for those who wake too soon." You smile, eyes closing without your permission. "That's kind." "It's practical," she replies. "Kindness usually is. You wake, or think you do, to find yourself alone in the sky room. The air has changed. It's softer, scented faintly with jasmine and distant rain. The words drifting overhead now form a slow procession of memories that never happened, but could have. A dinner with someone you miss, where the conversation finally went right. A long walk, where you forgave yourself halfway through. A night when you said "I'm okay" and meant it. Each vision unfolds gently, with no urgency. They exist not as regrets, but as comfort, alternate versions of peace, reminders that your mind can create closure as easily as it creates worry. You sit up slowly. The mirrored floor ripples like water. You realize that the words beneath the glass aren't random. They're your thoughts from the day, rearranged into something softer, something more forgiving. That small embarrassment that lingered all afternoon. It's now written as, "You were human, and that's allowed." That worry you carried into bed. It's now, "You don't have to solve everything tonight." The realization washes over you gently. This room isn't about rewriting your day. It's about letting your day rest too. You stand, feeling lighter, as if every step leaves a sigh behind, instead of a footprint. The librarian appears once more, silent as a thought arriving on time. "Ready to continue?" she asks. "Yes," you say, "though I could stay here forever." "You will," she smiles. "Every night, in the quiet part of your breathing." Back in the main hall, the lamps glow dimmer now, as if preparing for dawn. The librarian leads you to a small alcove you hadn't noticed before. A simple wooden table holds a single book, larger than any you've seen yet. Its cover deep green, the texture of moss. A gold plaque reads, "Borrower's Log, for the Dreamers." You open it. The first page contains a handwritten message. If you are reading this, you have already returned something. You smile. "What did I return?" The librarian answers softly, "Your attention." You laugh quietly, feeling seen. She continues, "Every visitor who remembers themselves leaves a small piece of calm behind. It's what keeps the library alive. We run on the energy of people learning to rest." You nod. "Then I suppose I owe you a lot of calm." "Don't worry," she says. "We redistribute it nightly." You look at the shelves, realizing that each glowing spine might contain fragments of other dreamers' peace, their healed moments, their laughter rediscovered in sleep. The thought fills you with something deep and wordless. You add your name to the borrower's log. The ink fades into gold, absorbed into the page like water into sand. The librarian's eyes shimmer. "The night library is a shared dream," she says, "and every dreamer leaves it a little lighter than they found it." The words land softly, the kind that stay with you long after waking. You walk with her one last time through the endless hallways. The lamps dim to candlelight. The sound of your footsteps blends with the rhythm of your own slowing heartbeat. At one intersection, you see a new sign glowing faintly. "To be continued." You pause. "Does that mean I'll come back?" The librarian smiles. "You never really leave." You glance around, the shelves, the glowing spines, the faint whispers of dreamers reading in their sleep, and realize she's right. The library isn't a place you go to. It's a space that opens in you when you need it most. She stops at a small side door, light spilling from underneath. "This is your way out," she says, "or your way in, depending on how you look at it." You hesitate. "Will I remember all of this?" "Not exactly," she says, "but you'll wake feeling reorganized." She laughs softly, like your thoughts just finished filing themselves alphabetically. You grin. "That sounds nice." "It is," she says, "and you deserve nice things, you know." The door hums gently, waiting. You turn back one last time. The librarian waves, not goodbye, but good night. Her form shimmers, fading into the glow of 1,000 unread pages. You step through the door. Warm air greets you, carrying the smell of morning. Somewhere far away, a bird decides to start the day early. You smile, eyes heavy but heart light. The story isn't over. It's only resting. The air outside the glass door feels softer now, thick with silence, but not the lonely kind. You find yourself in a long hallway you don't remember walking down before. It's narrower here, the lamps fewer, and the shelves glow faintly from within, as if the stories inside them have decided to whisper through their covers. You trace your fingers along the spines as you pass. Some feel warm, others cool, and each hums a slightly different note, together forming something like a heartbeat. At the far end of the corridor, you notice a faint golden light spilling from an open archway. When you step inside, you find yourself in a round room filled with old clocks. Each one ticks softly, unsynchronized, creating a rhythm that feels more like breathing than time. The librarian is there, of course, though she doesn't seem to walk anymore. She just appears where she's needed. "This is the chronology chamber," she says quietly. "It's where people come to make peace with time." You tilt your head. "Make peace with it?" She nods. "Yes. So many people try to race it, fight it, stretch it, trap it. But time doesn't want to win. It only wants to pass gently." You walk between the clocks. Each face tells a different moment. Your first heartbreak, your happiest laugh. A morning you can't remember, but your body somehow still does. You notice that one of the clocks, the smallest, has stopped completely. The hands point to nothing in particular. "What about this one?" you ask. The librarian smiles. "That one marks the moment you finally stopped rushing." You stare at it for a while, then realize. The silence feels nice. She gestures toward a chair at the center of the room. It's old and cushioned, the kind of chair that has been sat in by every version of you. When you sit, it sighs softly, as though happy to see you again. The librarian takes a small pocket watch from her robe and holds it up. Inside the glass, you see flickering images. Walking to work, scrolling late at night, washing dishes, worrying about things that never happened. "All these," she says, are moments that didn't know they were already enough. She closes the watch and sets it on the table beside you. You can keep it, she says. You look at her, surprised, but it doesn't tell time. She chuckles softly. Neither do you. Not really. You tell stories. You hold the watch in your palm. It feels warm, alive, and you realize something simple. The moments you thought were wasted were just quieter chapters, resting places between louder pages. For a long while, you just sit. The clocks tick softly around you, but none of them hurry. It's as if time has agreed to take a nap alongside you. When you finally stand, the librarian is gone again, but her absence feels peaceful, like a door left open on purpose. You step into another corridor, this one lined with windows, showing scenes you can't quite place. In one, you're standing in the rain, smiling at nothing. In another, you're reading by candlelight, your lips moving along with the story. Each window shows a version of you simply being, not achieving, not fixing, just existing, with a kind of quiet grace you never gave yourself credit for. As you walk, you realize that these windows aren't showing your past or your future. They're showing every moment you've ever been present, moments that passed unnoticed at the time, but shaped you in ways only stillness can. At the end of the hallway, you find a small wooden door. It's painted a deep teal, the color of dusk. A single phrase is carved into it: the room of true rest. The handle is smooth beneath your hand, like something that's been touched with gratitude many times before. When you open the door, a soft breeze flows out, a mixture of lavender, ocean salt, and something like forgiveness. You step inside. The room is quiet, bathed in blue light that looks like moonlight filtered through sleep. There's a bed in the center, simple, covered in white sheets that ripple gently as though the air itself is breathing for you. You sit at the edge, feeling the weight of the night settle comfortably across your shoulders. The librarian's voice reaches you from somewhere unseen. This room, she says softly, isn't for reading. It's for remembering how to rest. You lie back, eyes tracing the faint constellations painted across the ceiling. Names you almost remember: patience, trust, letting go. Each star glows in rhythm with your breathing. For a moment, your thoughts try to intrude. Little sparks of planning, worry, tomorrow's small to-do lists. But here, they dissolve easily, like ink in warm water. The air seems to murmur, "Not now. You're safe." You realize that sleep isn't something to chase. It's something that arrives when the body believes it's allowed to stop pretending it's strong. And here, in this strange, gentle place, you finally believe it. You're not sure how long you've been lying there when the librarian appears again, standing at the foot of the bed. Her voice is even quieter now, like a memory fading kindly. "Do you know what this library really is?" she asks. You shake your head slightly. "It's the mind, at peace with itself," she says. "Every shelf, every book, every clock. These are the ways your thoughts organize what you've lived. And every time you visit, you let yourself forgive a little more." You glance at the rows of books fading into the distance beyond the open door. "They're beautiful," you whisper. "They're yours," she replies. "Written every day, edited by kindness, bound by rest." She smiles faintly. "And the best part, the library never closes. It just waits for you to get sleepy." You laugh softly, eyes growing heavier. She steps closer, placing a gentle hand on your forehead. "You've read enough for tonight," she says. "Let the story keep reading itself." The words drift around you like feathers. You close your eyes, The world begins to melt into that delicate space between dreaming and waking. You hear faint sounds, the turning of distant pages, the low hum of remembered laughter, the heartbeat of the universe slowed to a lullaby. You see the librarian one last time, now made of starlight and dust. She whispers, "Every night you return, not to escape the world, but to soften it. Every page you open here writes peace into tomorrow." Her image fades, leaving only the glow of the ceiling stars. The bed beneath you feels endless, like the horizon. The night library hums a single, soothing note, the sound of closure, of acceptance, of a mind unclenching after too many hours awake. You exhale, and in that breath, the story folds itself gently shut. You drift in that delicious in-between place, half in the library, half in your bed. The ceiling stars pulse faintly above you, as if breathing with you. Every inhale feels like turning a page. Every exhale feels like setting a story down. You can still hear the faint ticking of distant clocks, but they no longer sound like time passing. They sound like calm, keeping rhythm. A soft breeze stirs the curtains of your thoughts. You realize that you no longer know where the story ends and sleep begins, and that's perfectly fine. That's what the night library was meant for, to teach you that endings don't have to be abrupt. They can be soft. They can sound like silence learning to hum. You shift slightly, feeling the bed beneath you cradle your weight, patient and unhurried. Somewhere in the distance, a page turns one last time, and then the sound fades into a steady, oceanic quiet. The librarian's voice lingers in your mind, like an echo of kindness. You've read enough for tonight. Let rest write the next chapter. You smile, eyes closed, as the quiet takes over. A faint light glows through the room, not from the ceiling now, but from inside the books themselves. The shelves shimmer gently, each one whispering something soft and short, like blessings. You are safe. You have done enough. You are allowed to rest. The words don't enter your mind. They enter your breathing, folding themselves into the rhythm of your body, until you can't tell where you end and peace begins. The air smells of lavender and faint candle smoke. You feel warmth against your fingertips, perhaps from the pocket watch the librarian gave you. When you look at it, the face no longer shows time, but reflection. It mirrors your calm expression, eyes closed, serene. You whisper a quiet thank you, not to anyone specific, but to everything that brought you here, to the gentle mistakes, to the forgotten moments that shaped you, to every version of yourself that refused to stay lost. The thank you lingers, becoming another breath, another heartbeat, another soft sigh that drifts upward into the stars painted on the ceiling. The stars pulse once, then settle. Now, the library grows quieter still. The walls seem to fade, the air stretching into something infinite. You sense the presence of the librarian somewhere nearby, though she no longer feels separate from the air, the light, or even your own heartbeat. Her voice arrives as a whisper, not through your ears, but inside your mind. When you wake, you won't remember every word. You don't need to. The calm will remember you. The bed beneath you feels like water now, still, reflective, endless. The ceiling dissolves into night sky. The faintest wind brushes your cheek, and you realize it's her goodbye, or maybe just her blessing. You are safe, she repeats softly. You have always been safe, even when you forgot. The words ripple through you, slow and deep. You can almost see them glowing faintly inside your chest, like bookmarks placed gently between the chapters of your heart. The library fades completely now. Only the hum remains, the low, steady sound of sleep itself forming around you. You no longer feel separate from it. You are the hum. You are the page. You are the dreamer and the dream. The world drifts by like fog over a lake. All thoughts have become distant silhouettes, too soft to disturb the stillness. You remember the first moment you stepped through the door, the cold handle, the smell of rain and dust, and it feels like a lifetime ago. You smile faintly. It was a lifetime ago, in its own small, sacred way, because something in you has changed. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly rearranged into something lighter. Every chapter begins with rest, you recall from the very first book. And you have finally begun. The thought fades into a smile, and the smile fades into sleep. Nothing now but stillness. The room hums with a kind of silence that feels alive, a silence that listens back. Your breathing is slow, the rhythm of someone safe, someone home. If you could open your eyes, but you won't need to, you might see faint motes of light hovering above you, memories rewritten into peace, circling like lazy fireflies. They fade, one by one, until all that's left is the deep blue of total rest. A sky without stars, because even stars deserve to close their eyes sometimes. Somewhere, in the farthest corner of your mind, a book closes itself gently. The cover glows once and whispers a single word into the darkness. Sleep. And you do. This final long stretch is almost wordless in narration. A continuation of calm background imagery, slow breathing guidance, and near-silent intervals to let the listener drift fully into sleep. The tone softens further, phrases spaced by long pauses. A guided descent into deep rest. The voice nearly whispering now. You're doing nothing now, just resting, just existing, the easiest thing in the world. Another pause. The night library will wait for you. You never have to rush back. It opens every time your heart grows quiet. Then silence, save for soft ambient echoes of pages turning somewhere far away. Breathing slows. The narration becomes half thought, half dream. All that's left now is stillness. All that's left is sleep. A pause. Good night. Long, gentle, ambient fade. The sound of wind through pages, distant hums, and peace itself breathing. The final few minutes begin to blend soft wakefulness and gratitude. The narrator's tone is warm, low, and faintly smiling. Thank you for spending your night here with Mindtales sleep stories. If you enjoyed this story, if it helped you rest, please consider giving it a thumbs up, subscribing, or sharing it with someone who could use a peaceful night. May your dreams be kind, your memories gentle, and your tomorrows soft around the edges. Good night, dreamer. Sleep well.